Well, Mark Bloomfield is from the American Council for Capital Formation think tank and joins me now from Washington. Firstly, why was there no Republican support when everyone agreed something had to be done?
I think from a Republican perspective, and I was with a Republican congressman on BBC here yesterday, they felt they were not included. In other words, today the Republican leader of the House had the 1,100 pages of the bill, and he threw it on the floor and said, we've only had it since midnight. We haven't had a chance to read it. Republicans don't think they were included in developing the plan. And I think that's why they voted against it.
Is there confidence in this plan from Joe Public, not Joe the plumber, that is? Because it's about confidence as much as anything, isn't it?
It is about confidence, and I think one can make the distinction between the very unpopular bailout of financial institutions as opposed to this was an attempt to get the mainstream economy going. I think part of the problem with the Geithner proposal the other day, the two were mixed up. I think the hope of those who support the president's initiative is that they're now separated. The American public thinks the president is doing something. They don't know whether it'll work or not, but they're willing to give him a chance to try it. On the other side, I think the American public is very skeptical about anything that goes on in Washington because of their fear about their job, their children's education, and so on. So I think it's a very split view. But you're right. Confidence is a critical part of three parts of what we need to address in this economy.
In your opinion, do you think there should have been the balance towards more tax cuts rather than spending?
I personally do. As you probably know, it's $798.2 billion thrown out in the economy, out of an economy of $14 trillion. 38% is aid to help people with the poor who need medical care, education, and unemployment. 38% is taxes, and 24% is spending. In my humble opinion, I would have tilted it more towards taxes, but it's an open question, I would gather, among economists.
But tax cuts don't necessarily mean more jobs, do they, or even more spending?
Well, tax cuts aren't necessary. There are several parts of the economy. As you know, 2/3 of the economy is consumption, which is people spending. Another component, obviously, is government spending, of which there's a heck of a lot here. The third part, of course, is investment, and the fourth part is exports. That's what makes up our $14 trillion economy. I think the argument to get it for tax cuts, two things. Number one, you put money in the hands of consumers who then will spend it. They will buy things. On the other hand, they may save, which is what you don't want to do. But on the other hand, if they've saved, they'll get their balance sheet in order and they'll spend next year once the economy kicks in. On the other hand, the business component investment is critical, and the investment component of the tax cuts is very, very small. So you've got to worry about the overall size, how much is spending, the components of spending, taxes, how are the components of taxes split.
And just in a word or two, do you see an end in sight for the economy now?
Unfortunately, I do not see an end in sight. I would have said a few months ago that 2009 we may have a turnaround. Now I gosh darn hope there's going to be a turnaround in 2010. But action, I think, is critical, and I would have probably reluctantly voted for this package.
Mark Bloomfield, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.